The word cryptic, also known as cryptical, it's an adjective. Mysterious in meaning, puzzling. 2, secret, occult, cryptic writing. 3, involving or using codes, secret codes, that type of thing. So obviously, the subject tonight would definitely be considered cryptical in nature, the return of Planet X.
Yes, it is, because your research is being cryptic from the media, I guess you can say.
Well,
or I guess that's the right way to say it.
All right. Yes, that's absolutely true, and I'll expand on that. But first, let's examine the word knowledge, because that's the second half of the title of your show, right? Cryptic knowledge. Knowledge. 1, acquaintance with facts, truths, or principles. 2, familiarity or conversance, as by study or experience of a knowledge of human nature. The fact or state of knowing clear and certain mental apprehension, awareness. These are all the things that are associated with knowledge. So that word also plays very much into tonight's discussion, because we spent about 7.5 to 8 years. Now it's more like 11 with the 3 years since 2007. We spent 8 years planning, researching, writing, annotating, investigating, going to foreign countries, spending a lot of time in Russia, talking to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in many different parts of the world about what they think they know or what they knew about this thing called Planet X. What is Planet X? Okay, we need to talk about that too. And it's good we have the hour, because I'm going to try to fill it with information that you may have never heard about before. Okay?
Go right ahead.
All right. Now,
and,
biggest question, what is Planet X and why did I write the book? Real simple. First of all, Planet X is not a planet. We believe it's a brown dwarf star. It's one that's associated with our solar system. Let me give you a quick run through. By the way, I hope everybody that's out there appreciates science fiction, because the stories that the story and the stories associated with what I'm about to tell you would probably make the greatest sci-fi series ever experienced. And the interesting part was, the man who gave me the idea for this whole thing was none other than Gene Roddenberry himself. I had the greatest of pleasures of knowing Gene since April, May, June of 1973, and from then until he died, I would go to California and talk with him. I was a part owner of a submarine from 1971 until 1974, the submarine that was used in a motion picture called Around the World Under the Sea. B-grade movie, great entertainment, made a lot of money, fake, just the interior. It didn't really dive and shoot. It was just for interiors. Anyway, we owned that submarine. And Gene Roddenberry came out to look at it because he wanted to feature it in a retro-type sea hunt series, which I thought was a brilliant idea. And he came out, anyway, sub wasn't quite big enough and it would cost too much money for us to retrofit it for his needs. So we spent a wonderful week together. We took him flying through the Bermuda Triangle. I used to be involved with Dr. J. Manson Valentine and Charles Berlitz, the co-authors of the Bermuda Triangle. Do you remember that book?
Yes, sir. World
famous. I think it's been translated into 103 different languages. Anyway, this is part of the expertise that my physical bearing as a researcher, scientist, activist, and writer, because it's a story that I want to begin with. I want to give you some cosmic science. Okay, I'm going to pack the hour if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Should we rock and roll?
Let's do it, because I told you we only have an hour, and,
right.
and hopefully we can get as much as we can.
I can do this. I can give you a great story in 45 minutes. Okay, here we are.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's let our story begin back at the Big Bang, which nobody knows for sure, but probably happened, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 billion years ago. Maybe that's how far back it goes. So we jump from the Big Bang out to where the planets started to form, the stars were coalescing, and there was a solar system that came into existence in the same sector that Earth just happens to coexist in, even at this moment. And so our solar system came into being, and around 4.5 to 5 billion years ago, give or take a million years, right? There's no book written on it yet, and all of it has to come from research. So when we speak in figures, we're speaking in approximate figures, all right? About approximately 4.5 to 5 billion years ago, we believe that history in the Earth records and legend records that some kind of a huge asteroid-type object, possibly the size of a small planet, a great, big, bad rock. Get it?
Yes, sir.
Big one. Came smashing through the plane of the ecliptic of our solar system. Now, what is the plane of the ecliptic? Plane of the ecliptic. Have you ever been to an astronomy class or seen astronomy books or been in the planetarium where you see the sun splayed out on a wall as if it's a huge circular pattern? You see the sun in the center and you see all the planets and their positions. You've seen a map or chart like that, right? A picture?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, that's the plane of the ecliptic. The easiest way I could explain it to you. You're looking down on the plane of the ecliptic. You see everything, okay? At some point, we believe an object came smashing through deep, deep space and intersected the plane of the ecliptic, which means if it intersects it, it has to pass through it, not just around it, you see? Okay. Now, when this object came through, it was coming through in a clockwise motion to the normal motion of our solar system and all the stars in our galaxy. Everything seems in the universe to be rotating in counterclockwise motions rather than clockwise, like when we read a clock or look at our watch.
Yeah.
When this object came in, it was coming in a clockwise motion or in direct opposition, probably coming in at 1,000,000 miles or more an hour, who knows.
About how long ago was this, sir?
About 4.5 to 5 billion years ago. We believe that the solar system existed as it did. However, there were not 9 planets, there were 12 original planets. All, once again, the Sitchin books and all of the literature and all the discussions of Atlantis and Lemuria, and I'll give you that real quick, seem to be that there were 12 planets. There were probably at least 4 that were capable of bearing life, that were capable of being life-bearing planets. Probably Venus, definitely Earth, probably Mars, and there was some consideration that even Pluto, although it's the frozen, the hottest little planet, Pluto, in recognition to everything that's going on in the solar system, we had 2 suns. There was a the big luminary that we enjoy that gives us life and sustenance. Everything and anything that affects the sun affects the Earth. And that's what's going on right now with this global warming and cooling. We'll come back to that. Remember I told you it was all woven together?
Yes, sir.
It's one huge picture puzzle. It's real easy to understand. I promise, I'll walk it out as close as I can, step by step, but you got to be listening. Every sentence. Here we go.
Okay.
When this object came through, it smashed through with such force that it destroyed a huge outer rocky type planet, which was known as Marduk. And when Marduk broke, it broke into billions and billions of more zeros than you can imagine pieces, most of which became our current day asteroid belt. You see, between Mars and Jupiter. The other pieces, large as they were cast off to fly through once again, intersecting the plane of the ecliptic and striking several other planets. One of them was probably Mars, killed at a death blow. There is a strange, huge bulge, I think, on the lower southern sector of Mars, and no one understands why. Probably a piece of the debris smashed into it and pushed into Mars, killing it probably instantly. A large piece is expected to have plummeted toward the Earth, striking near the one single continent. When Earth was first formed, it was one huge chunk of land, and it was called Pangea. And when Pangea broke, it broke because we believe that this impact hit a sea mantle and broke up the disruption, which became the plate system for how the world eventually came to form. I don't want to plunge off into how plates are formed. Everyone knows that and about tectonics and things of that nature. But that's what's causing the restructuring and the movement of this lower mantle system is what is now driving the uptick in more violent earthquakes. They're coming more frequently, and they're getting bigger, and they're getting nastier. Sometimes they're close to the surface, and sometimes they're far deep below. The Chile quake was fortunately deep. It could have been far worse. The Haiti,
and it could have been more.
Was very close to the surface.
It could have been more catastrophic too.
Yes. The point of the matter is that we predicted in our book, The Return of Planet X. Let's finish the story about what happened to the little baby son. Okay. But once again, when we weave and move, it's because there's a texture and a pattern here that I want everybody to, when I'm talking about that, I have to relate to the tectonic plates, because that's what started breaking up the Earth in the first place, and that's how Pangea broke apart and the continents were broken apart, you see?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now, if we're right about this theory about what happened, another piece probably smashed into Venus, killing it. It could probably was not as hot as it became. And we believe that there was one more major component to the disaster, and that was our planet was a binary star system, always designed to be a binary star system, and that the little sun, the little baby sun, would have had its function. There was probably some unknown cosmic function to why that little sun was born, probably to shade or aid some of the further planets out. I don't know. But
what kind of star is this second sun anyways?
I'm sorry? How big?
What kind of star is this second sun? Is it a brown dwarf?
It was a young, unfused, a little baby star. Our sun is a fusion star, you see?
Yeah.
It's perpetual energy, which will eventually burn out another 10 to 11 billion years from now, but that's neither here nor there. Ours is a fusion sun, and her baby sun was growing to be a fusion sun when a large piece of debris probably hit the baby sun head on. Remember, it was coming, the debris was flying in a clockwise motion against the counterclockwise motion of our solar system. So it was like two freight trains colliding, and a big piece probably hit the baby sun, a deadly glancing blow head to head, spinning it 180 degrees on its then axis and sending it out in a clockwise. It hit it. In other words, it was like two trains. Boom! And when it hit it, it knocked it away, and in a counterclockwise, not out of its counterclockwise into a clockwise, and it shot way out, was knocked way out into space. And we believe that this particular little baby sun has been returning pretty regularly to cause disasters of all known types and natures. We've tracked it about every 36 to 4,000 years, and that would bring me to a commercial. Everything that our host, that Mike and I are talking about, is contained in our book called The Return of Planet X. You can get it at any bookstore. Just Google it up. Go on the internet, either the name of the book or eBay. It's all over the place. Okay.
And on the front page, to the listeners, you can actually read Dr. Jason Rand's bio and click on his book on the front page of Perfect Knowledge Radio, and it will give you a direct link to his site to where you can buy the book.
It's not really so much about buying the book, it's about gaining the knowledge, the cryptic knowledge.
Yes, sir.
And that's what, first of all, attracted me immediately when you emailed me, and I said, yeah, a title like that? Of course I've got to go on his show. Okay, back to our story, okay? I mean, do you ever listen to radio as a kid? I grew up in the early 40s and 50s and 60s with nothing but radio until television came. And I can tell you I gained a world of knowledge by listening to the radio. So that's why I enjoy being on shows like yours, because I'm on the radio. Okay. So this collision occurs, hits this object, this little baby sun, probably killing it, instantly killing its presence and becoming a glowing hydrogen-driven type sun, and sends it out into this god-awful long elliptical orbit taking 36 to 4,000 years to go. We believe it travels out to some mysterious place. We believe it's in the Scorpio system. And out there somewhere, we believe there is which is also carried in legend, including Mayan literature, the fact that there seems to be a dark, black, powerful sun-type object, which is also associated with our solar system. So maybe there should have been, maybe there was 3 suns in our original solar system. You see why this would make a great sci-fi story? But we think but we think it's all true. That's the greatest part of the story, is that we believe it's true based on all of our research. So this object probably travels out to that lone black star holding its own way out there somewhere, and is slingshotted back toward the Earth. Remember in Apollo 13 when they had trouble and they had to use the moon to slingshot themselves back toward Earth? Okay, they use this little baby sun utilizes the same principle. Gets sucked in from behind this big black sun, and whoosh, out it goes again, taking about 50. See, it takes about 1,600 and some years to get from our sun to the other sun, and then about another 1,600 plus years for it to be slingshotted back. But when it returns back, for some reason, it comes back in faster, because it was sent by a more powerful force. You see, the dynamics here, that's why it varies 36 to 4,000 years. This is celestial mechanics, which have never been even postulated before. But if we're right, it would confirm legends and stories and myths, and we can tie it into 2012. We can tie it into the Christian ethics of the coming day of not only rapture, but judgment, testament, and Armageddon, and all that. It's the greatest story that will yet be told to humankind, because it's all unfolding. As we speak, Mike, right now, these components and these elements are happening. Everything that we're talking about. We're not making any of it up. I'm not really reading from any scripts. I have some notes. It's what I have in my head and what I have in my heart. Now, when this object returns, it comes back in a clockwise. Remember, it's coming back in against us in opposition to our normal flow, which is counterclockwise, right?
Yep.
So the same principle that was attributed to that object that collided with the plane of the eclipse of our solar system, it's coming back at us the same way. Now, we believe that we've been experiencing its effects as early as 1982. There was an uptick of quakes and storms in 82, and I believe that was the very first point where its fields, it has null fields, N-U-L-L. They're like concentric rings of electromagnetic and magnetic, regular magnetic and plasma type energy forces, and it changes. It can even change dimensional fields. Could also change fields of relativity. This is unknown power like we've never experienced before. It's a baby. It's a baby sun up close. You see. Or what's left of it, you see? Now, how did it get called Planet X? Okay, now we're going to divert from history. So we believe this thing's coming back, okay? I'll tell you more about its name. By the way, we believe it's called wormwood, and we believe that it's described perfectly in verse 8, chapter 11 of the book of Revelation, and I'm going to quote, and the name of the star was wormwood, unquote. We'll get into that in the second half of our discussion.
I was going to ask you too.
Okay, yeah. When I throw the whole thing at you, you're going to go, of course that makes sense. Of course it does. Yes, it does. And it's so in your face. But in order to understand it, you had to go through the phases that I had to go through to uncover the keys and the code. You see, what I had to do is I had to learn how to read the book of Revelation. It's a code book. And it's for multiple times. Every time it's been put into effect, events like this happen. So you see, the book of Revelation covers many such periods as this, not just this end time. You see?
Yeah.
If it's the Word of God, understand. Now, I'm not going religious, everybody. This is not a religious thing, sudden turn. It's fact. I'm talking about facts. If they coincide with religion, that's fine. Okay? We're not a cult. You know, we're not selling Bibles and all that stuff. The point of the matter is, it's in the Scripture. I can't help that, but I need to quote it because it's what's helped me understand and explain and put the puzzle together. Remember I said it was many pieces and many component parts? It all goes back to the book of Revelation. Now,
all right,
a lot of people are intimidated.
To all the listeners that are just joining the show, we were talking about Planet X and the cause it has on planet Earth. And go ahead, sir. I'm just going to put that out there in case because I think we have a few new listeners that just came on.
Great. So. Well, I hope everybody, come on, sit down and grab some popcorn and potato chips. Grab a cold beer. What the heck, right? Okay.
You're on the roll, so go ahead, sir.
All right. So we believe that this object is very real and very physical. But I want to go a little bit more. I'm going to close the history box. Okay. It comes back every 36 to 4,000 years. We believe that the last time it came back here was in actual recorded history. If everybody out there has a piece of paper and grab a pencil, I want you to write the date down, 1447 BCE. 1447. It's 1,447 years BCE, before the Common Era. Okay. That coincides with the same time period. It's now widely believed and accepted that Moses was leading the Israelites out of Egypt. You see, he didn't do it in one 10-day period. Do you follow me? You don't move, you know, that many hundreds of thousands of human beings and their possessions and their stock and their food. You don't do that in 3 years. You see?
Yeah, it takes planning.
It takes big time planning. But as you read it in Exodus, it seems kind of speeded up because that's how you write. That's how authors write their stories, okay? But that took over a period of years. So we believe that during that time period, that 1447, so this event probably was happening from 1445 to about 1447 or 48, you see?
Yeah.
That this period, and that would correspond with about 3,610 years, right on schedule, you see?
Wow.
Now, if we're right, and we think we are, we happen to be living in the forecasted period known by almost every religion. See, everybody thinks that, oh, end times prophecy and Armageddon. No, it's in almost every religion, in almost every language, in one form or another. It all ends in catastrophe, and it ends in cleansing, and it ends in rebirth, and it ends in the beginning of a new age. It's been going on since recorded time. They see it in cave paintings in France, these stories. And by the way, it all ties into UFOs and extraterrestrial and all that other stuff that everybody goes, what are you talking about? And I go, well, you want the story? I'll give you the story. And it involves also a UFO ET component. Remember, I keep coming back. What a great science fiction story, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I'm sure you got a few producers down your neck right now, don't you?
No, not yet. They haven't quite got the story, but you're helping to put it out. How's that?
But 2012 is getting
I've actually
closer.
got. I do. I have a soundtrack already written. Being a record producer, I've already got the music produced for it. I've got a television series with the pilot and the first episode written. I've also got 3 other books ready to come out. I'm in no rush to get the story out because the story is becoming true. Everything that I've written about for the last 25 years is becoming true. So I'm like I don't want to say Indiana Jones. I'm an Indiana Jones type, okay? I've been on safari. I've dove. I've dug, searched for gold and sunken ships and all this stuff. It's great fun, and that's also covered in our book. But the real story is about Planet X, which we believe is this little baby brown dwarf sun come back to revisit us, and we believe it's now in its close-by underbelly phase of the sun, because what's happening on the planet, see, now we need to talk about global warming and global cooling. Did I tell you that this thing is going to zigzag? Huh? I warned you, right?
Yes, sir.
Now we're going to zigzag again. Now I'm going to tie this wormwood thing in to this whole, I won't say absurd discussion on warming and global cooling, because they really know what's going on. But it makes for great debate, and it's a great distractor. And as if we don't have enough trouble with health insurance and a global financial collapse and the one world government very close to taking control, I think that we're probably no more. Now I'm going to start getting, you know, the weird calls coming at me. I don't care. I think we're getting close to a global collapse, and it's only going to take one or two more major earthquakes. You see where I'm going with this?
Yes.
As the earthquakes increase, so does the weaknesses of the major countries. If South America loses another major city, or if we lose a major city, or if Japan loses a major city, or Russia, or anywhere, Paris, anywhere, London has earthquakes, but we don't talk about it, then there will be a sudden collapse of individual governments. They'll all declare martial law. I believe that most countries already have martial law on the books. We do. Clinton signed it. All it takes is the signature of any sitting president to activate it. And once they do, they can basically suspend the Constitution, because that's what it does. All civil liberties pretty much come to an end. They can confine you to your homes. They can escort you to work. They can do, you know, food, everything, electricity, everything becomes nationalized. If that should happen, it'll be because they won't be able to control how the population will explode. And keep in mind, we still have guns. We do. Most other countries don't have their guns anymore. You see?
At least we do now.
Yeah, at least we do now. Now, this is nothing about conspiracy. Remember I told you? Nothing about conspiracies, and this is nothing about the downfall of the government. I think everything that's happening is happening right on some cosmic schedule. And we just happen to be lucky enough to be living at one of the most exciting times in the history of mankind. And people go, what the heck are you talking about? Well, look at what we've done. Look at what mankind has achieved. In less than 1,000 years of written communication and the intellectual prowess that the human brain has developed in 1,000 years. Look what we've achieved. With that as a backdrop, I say to you, well, why aren't we better taking care of it? Because what's about to happen is that Mother Nature is going to rear her beautiful but yet ugly head. And we are going to start experiencing some real natural disasters. I think we're going to have one or more supervolcanoes is likely to go. If we're right about this object, see, we haven't told anybody what it's going to do. Okay, let's go there next.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever affects the sun affects the Earth. Without the sun, Earth, and everything else in our solar system would be frozen solid. Without Earth, without the sun, there is no life on Earth, and without her, we don't exist. As do none of the other objects in our solar system, because
it all works together.
Yes, the sun is the master control. Can you imagine what intellect drew the plan that structured our solar system with its complicated numerical and chemical differentials? Each planet's different. Each one has a different guidance system. Each one has a different gravitational field set up, electromagnetic. It goes on, and gas versus solid versus ice. It's amazing. Something is driving the genius that keeps us going together. But see, that's another theoretical situation here. What we do know is that whatever affects the sun directly, immediately in some cases, affects our Earth and every other planetary or solid object under the sun's control. The asteroid belt, the moons, everything. Now, we know, and science is yet to discuss fully, why is it that now, in March of 2010, we should only be about, maybe 9 months away from what's known as topmost point of an 11-year solar cycle of energy differential change.
Wow.
It seems to be that about at the end of about every 11 years, give or take 6 months or a year, there seems to be a maximum period of solar activity where the sun sends out solar flares and plasma blasts and things get weird. It's not uncommon. We've experienced it before, you see. But this time, this 11th year, the sun is very mysteriously, cryptic knowledge is and suggests that there is something wrong with the sun right now because it ain't acting right. In fact, it hasn't been acting right for about 18 months now. It's been completely like whacked, okay? Like very quiet, no flares, no huge eruptions, no, really nasty electromagnetic bursts, nothing. It's very quiet, which worries me greatly because if it's been being held back by something, and when that something holding it back changes its influence, the sun would probably what? Snap back rather quickly to its normal cycles, because that's how the sun was designed to run. You see? As easy as I can explain it. Something's not right about the way the sun's functioning.
It's not just disturbing Earth's climate, is it? It's also disturbing all the other planets, right?
Yes, all of the other planets. They've been measuring this now for many years. In fact, it was as early as 1882. That's how they discovered Neptune and eventually Pluto, by the perturbances, the disruptions that were hitting the other planets. All right, I don't want to veer off track too much, but but that'll be a point for, okay, I'll use that to come back. Now, when all this damage happened out there, it may have also tilted the Earth to its present declination. If a huge object did, in fact, hit the mid-Pacific basin, that would explain the huge depth and width of the Pacific Ocean and the fact that the continental shelves to the east and to the west of the Pacific indicate that something thrust against them with great pressure. So that's probably where an object hit the Pacific plain and in the ocean and created the breaking up of Pangea. Now, if this is right, it then explains the construction, the dimension, and the function of the other continents, because they all come together with a little bit of the stuff they do on computers, the CGI stuff. They suddenly understand that this probably was one huge planet. So, if all of this is correct, it further structures our argument that this object is probably now returning and is here. And I'll tell you why I really believe so, because this is a fact. In the New York Times and throughout radio and television, in 1983, NASA made a startling and dramatic announcement that one of its newly launched infrared satellites had suddenly picked up this huge, big, dark red, smoldering object of some sort. It appeared to be coming directly toward us, and they even named the region in the press release. By the way, all this stuff is in our book. All the stories.
What year was this?
1983. I believe it was April of 1983. NASA announced that we've discovered this strange object. We don't know what to call it. We've never seen anything like it. It seems to be up, and they described what it looked like, so they named it. Guess what? Planet X.
Yep.
I didn't. You didn't. They did. Okay? They called it Planet X, and it hit instantly, worldwide. And then suddenly, more cryptic knowledge indicates that 24 to 36 hours later, it was scrubbed clean. You couldn't find it anywhere, off of every newspaper, off of every radio, television. Everyone was basically sworn to secrecy. It was like, shut up, and it was gone. But the cat was out of the bag. It was too late. The age of computers. So where we're going is that we believe that we are living at a moment when this object is returning to us, and NASA knows about it. That's, I believe, also why they built this huge, multi-billion-dollar. You've heard about the infrared telescopic array station they built at the South Pole. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't spend billions and billions of dollars to build an observatory like that unless you're looking for something really specific coming from a certain perspective in the sky. Otherwise, why are you placing your observatory to perfectly photograph that region? And we believe that they've been shooting it, and now there are definite signs that the public is now beginning to shoot it with good long-distance infrared telescopes. We believe it's incoming. We believe that it'll probably make its spin out from behind our sun on or about December 21st, 2012, and that's where I connect the dots with the 2012.
Yeah, and I have
it's just, and we're going to play. Listen, and we're going to play a little game yet. Oh my gosh, the time is flying. Okay, we got to keep rolling here. All right, now look. When this thing comes back, it could come back and it could cause extensive damage and really give us a really bad shaking. It could even cause a global earthquake, you see, all over at one time, which is what the good book calls for. It says so once again in Chapter 8. If you read Chapter 8, you read all about how the earth is about ready to get shaken to its foundations. And for some strange reason, the earthquakes are becoming nastier and nastier and more frequent. So I'm hoping that that part of the prophecy in almost every language known in man, in every religion known to man, I hope that they're all wrong and that nothing happens in 2012. I'm going to go on record. I hope that starting this summer there will be no nasty hurricanes, that there will be no nasty tornadoes, right? And there will be no exploding volcanoes, and that will be no earthquakes or tornadoes. Okay, now, if that happens, I will be the first to come to you and say, well, you know, I was really, really wrong. But then again, maybe my timing is off by 6 months or a year. Keep in mind, this is not a given science. But I think I'm right on schedule, okay? Now, what can we do about this? First thing we need to do is figure out who we are, where we are, why we are, what our role is going to be, what do we believe, what do we believe we know about things that are extremely important to our survival. Did those people in Indonesia in 04 to 05, the 245,000 people that died in less than 45 minutes, those tidal waves took out almost a quarter of huge amounts of people. What happened in Haiti and what just happened in Chile. See, these are the things that indicate to me that we are either nearing a maximum point where it might stop, or we're going to go deeper. In any event, you and I should schedule a show, let's say in 3 months. How's that, my friend? Let's schedule part 2, if you like. And I'm not trying to talk you into it, but I think it's a good idea.
And I was going to ask you
to do a part 2, and we'll see.
Anyways.
You know, we'll track. Let's track, okay?
Yes, sir.
And see what happens. Then we'll know if we're right on track or if it looks like things are going to turn around, okay? Now, real quick, I want to do a fun thing. I think I gave everybody a pretty good understanding. Mind you, you and I could talk for 2 more hours here. You know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, on that same piece of paper, I want you to write down these key prime numbers. 12-21-12. That's 12-21-12. Okay. In prime numbers, breaking it down in numerology, the 12-21-12 stands for December 21st, 2012. Okay, now, in numerology, every number has a corresponding letter associated with it, right? A is 1, B is 2, 3 is... Okay, now, let's put the letters down. Are you ready? I'll give them to you. A, B, B, A, A, B. That's A, B, B, A, A, B. Now, when you consider that the Hebrew language is read in reverse from right to left, this date would then read B-A, A-B, B-A. Just take the letters and flop them, and you'd have Ba'aba, okay? B-A, A-B, B-A. Now, the Hebrew translation. Now, here's where we talk about cryptic knowledge. Ba'aba in Hebrew translates to, write this down, Father comes, Father is coming. Father comes, Father is coming. In traditional Judeo-Christian religions and viewpoints. God the Father is one and the same. God the Father, God is the Son. Then there's the component of the Son, being Jesus, that type of thing. So we understand that to us, Father comes, Father's coming means God is coming, the Father is coming. Now, I find that extremely curious that out of those prime numbers, that's what comes out when you go to numerology and you read it in Hebrew. That, to me, is real, real close. Because if you read in Matthew chapter 24 to 31, verse 24 to 31, and he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. And in ancient literature and text, heaven was also flipped with the word earth, from one end of earth to the other. Now, those are Jesus' words also. So he says that they're coming back at the same time, as does all the other texts that relate. And then, when I go and reference it against all the other religious types of beings and known forms of study, we find that this same trilogy exists, and in the same component of tragedy and redemption and earth changes. But the strange thing is they all talk about the earth changes. All of them talk about drastic earth changes. And so once again, I think that the time period we are in right now could be considered the end time or the coming time of tribulation. But there's a much higher component because there's also a UFO ET thing. And that might be ready for another show, that part of it. What do you think?
That sounds great.
All right. Now, you have we have a few minutes, correct?
Let me see here. We have exactly 9 minutes left.
Why don't you throw a few questions? Or if someone out there has a question, I'll do as quick response as I can. Well, listen, I know we covered a lot of ground, but you see how much ground there was to cover, and we didn't cover all of it.
That's exactly what I told you when I talked to you on the telephone, is that I want you to try to cram as much as you can in, and I appreciate you rambling on.
I think we gave them a good foundation. So if you want to shoot some questions at me, I'm ready.
All right. Let me see here. Is it possible that Planet X, which is a brown dwarf star, be the sun and heat source of a planet which our ancestors or our creators could have came from?
Are you referring to Nibiru? The
Yeah,
concept
Nibiru.
of Zacharias
Right.
Sitchin, the 12th planet? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I think it is. It could. Okay. Here's another theory about Planet X. Could Planet X be still strong enough and active enough to be able to heat and light and give life to a planet? Suppose this little sun did get kicked out of space. Maybe it picked off one of the smaller planets, one of the outer fringe planets, which could have been Nibiru. Wouldn't it be interesting that Sitchin's concept of the Anunnaki and the giants of old is reported, in the Bible? What if this same object I'm talking about is also dragging with it a full-sized, Earth-sized planet called Nibiru? I don't know. I don't have any research that indicates it, but I have found it referenced in hundreds and hundreds of other types of literature throughout my research. How's that for my answer for you?
Sounds good. That's pretty much what I believe too. So it kind of corresponds to this next question. What is your opinion about the ancient astronaut theory?
I totally have to support it, but not for speculation points. We all know that there were vast periods on the planet where knowledge and experience for the humanoids that were being seeded here were part of it. Yes, I do believe that there are extraterrestrials, or what you want to call, astronauts, ancient astronauts. Yes. Who am I to say, since there are many mansions in our Father's house, who am I to say what constitutes an extraterrestrial? How do I know I'm not an extraterrestrial? Just someone else that's viewing me, you see?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I do ascribe to that. I think the Earth has much more history and science and experience to share with people and a lot of it is hidden for various reasons. I think that there's been a presence of extraterrestrial intelligence on this planet for possibly as many as 1 million or more years. Go ahead.
That's kind of what Michael Cremo believes also.
Yes.
With his work for forbidden archaeology. But yeah, I totally agree with the ancient astronaut theory, because if you think about it, well, we can already go to Mars if we wanted to, and let's say we went to Mars and we created life, and we can already do that. We can clone, we can get down to the DNA structure, and we can create life or create man in our image, as it says in Genesis.
What do you think the one thing that prohibits us from doing any of these great things? What is the one component? We don't got no money no more. Nobody's got any money for any of this. It's all been cut back. The point of the matter is, if we are in for this rough period, it won't make any difference where we want to get to. We're going to have to try to figure out how to put it all back together again. We still haven't rebuilt New Orleans or Galveston Island or a lot of part of Galveston Bay. Haiti, God bless Haiti. Haiti will be in ruins for decades. And now Santiago and Concepcion and Ascension, they are now in big trouble. If we lost them, if we lost even a half of L.A., I went through the '94. I went through the earthquake, Mike. I can tell you, we were in an apartment that was coming down on us. I experienced every minute of it. I lived every minute of it, and I was part of the rebuilding process for about 6 years. Don't let anyone tell you that when you're struck by a natural disaster like that you're on an easy ride. We didn't have electricity or running water for days and weeks. And couldn't get any money out of the bank. There was no electricity. All the food stores were devastated. There was only one restaurant open. It took 2 hours just to wait in line to eat there. So, with that in mind, I think that what I'd like everyone to do, they can go online, by the way. They can go. I have it available in ebook. It's really inexpensive on the ebook. Read, prepare. Chapter 7 tells you all about what the government knows and doesn't know and what's about to happen. Chapter 8 tells us how to get ready and why we should understand what we're doing. And number 9 gives you a preparedness chapter, complete things about diet and food supplies and what you need to survive for a period of up to 30 days, all realistically written and researched. This is not science fiction. It's happening right now as we speak tonight. These things are gearing up. My next question is, where will the next big earthquake occur and when? How soon? If they start coming sooner and they keep getting bigger, it's not a good sign. Not a good sign. And now we've got this hurricane season approaching, but I'm more worried about tornadoes and wildfires this spring because of the rapid surging of the weather. You see, the Earth is confused, Michael. The sun's not acting right. It's causing the Earth to act in ways it's not used to acting because it's out of season. It's out of cycle. The sun isn't emitting the same amount of energy. The planet isn't cooling, and it's not warming. It's going through hot and cold phases. Okay?
This is a natural occurrence, right?
Of course. The planet is a living thing. The planet has its own mind, its own consciousness, its own intelligence. You and I don't have anything to do with that. That we can't screw up. What we can screw up is her ability to function as an independent unit aside from us. See, that's what the argument should be about, not global warming. Yeah. When the sun goes back to normal, it could be that the planet could be sent a severe jolt, which I'm afraid might excite and start possibility of a big global earthquake, which is predicted in all the texts. Just read the book of Revelation, chapter 8. It's exactly what's approaching. And now how does it tie into this terrorism thing and the money crunches and the public unrest? Listen, we're not the only country, by the way. We are not the only country that appears to be unhappy with what's going on with the people who govern us. Notice I didn't mention any names or nothing. Okay? People aren't happy. But it's not only here. It's in Iran, and it's in France, and it's in Germany, and it's in London. It's all over the place. The
Mm-hmm.
point of the matter is everybody knows that there's something really, really wrong, not only with the planet, but with the people that are on the planet. We fight, we kill, we poison. We can't even get along with our own families. No, this is not a preach and this is not a rant. What it is the statement of reality as of this moment as you and I are speaking on the radio. The planet is in big trouble from a multiple sense of sources. And if we can't learn to control how we're going to respond to these things, our country, who should be as prepared as any, we're certainly the wealthiest, we should know what we're doing. By the way, my cryptic knowledge tells me that most of that unspent TARP money, you know, from Bush, and then the other restructuring money that came through President Obama, I think all that
50
money,
seconds, sir. So go ahead and get your last words in.
I think that money is being held in reserve to help us. See, I don't see it as a conspiracy, Mike. I don't see all this big evilness. I see a confusion, but I think that money is being held for natural emergencies. And if they have, bravo and congratulations. And that's why we also need to bring the troops home, because we need them here to defend our borders. All right?
So where can people find out your work and buy your book?
1-800-247-6553. Everything we talked about's in my book, Return to Planet X. 1-800-247-6553. Just Google it up. Go to Amazon.com. Go to any bookstore. On the Internet, my website. Can have a book out to you in 24 hours.
All right, sir.
So we
have 5 seconds left. We have 5 seconds left, but I want to thank you, and I will have you back on as soon as I can.
Mike, thanks again, everybody, and let's just get prepared, okay? Bye-bye.
All right, thanks.
Bye-bye. The word cryptic, also known as cryptical, it's an adjective. Mysterious in meaning, puzzling. 2, secret, occult, cryptic writing. 3, involving or using codes, secret codes, that type of thing. So obviously, the subject tonight would definitely be considered cryptical in nature, the return of Planet X.
Yes, it is, because your research is being cryptic from the media, I guess you can say.
Well,
or I guess that's the right way to say it.
All right. Yes, that's absolutely true, and I'll expand on that. But first, let's examine the word knowledge, because that's the second half of the title of your show, because I'm going to try to fill it with information that you may have never heard about before, okay?
Go right ahead.
All right, now,
and
biggest question, what is Planet X and why did I write the book? Real simple. First of all, Planet X is not a planet. We believe it's a brown dwarf star. It's one that's associated with our solar system. Let me give you a quick run-through. By the way, I hope everybody that's out there appreciates science fiction, because the stories the story and the stories associated with what I'm about to tell you would probably make the greatest sci-fi series ever experienced. And the interesting part was, the man who gave me the idea for this whole thing was none other than Gene Roddenberry himself. I had the greatest of pleasures of knowing Gene since April, May, June of 1973, and from then until he died, I would go to California and talk with him. I was a part owner of a submarine, and I want to give you some cosmic science. Okay, I'm going to pack the hour if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Should we rock and roll?
Let's do it, because I told you we only have an hour, and,
right.
and hopefully we can get as much as we can.
I can do
in
this.
Hour.
I can give you a great story in 45 minutes. Okay, here we are.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's let our story begin back at the Big Bang, which nobody knows for sure, but probably happened, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 billion years ago. Maybe that's how far back it goes. So we jump from the Big Bang out to where the planets started to form, the stars were coalescing, and there was a solar system that came into existence in the same sector that Earth just happens to coexist in even at this moment. And so our solar system came into being, and around 4.5 to 5 billion years ago, you know, give or take a million years, right? There's no right, cryptic knowledge. Knowledge, 1, acquaintance with facts, truths, or principles. 2, familiarity or conversance, as by study or experience of a knowledge of human nature. The fact or state of knowing clear and certain mental apprehension, awareness. These are all the things that are associated with knowledge. So that word also plays very much into tonight's discussion, because we spent about 7.5 to 8 years. Now it's more like 11 with the 3 years since 2007. We spent 8 years planning, researching, writing, annotating, investigating, going to foreign countries, spending a lot of time in Russia, talking to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in many different parts of the world about what they think they know or what they knew about this thing called Planet X. What is Planet X? Okay, we need to talk about that too. And it's good we have the hour from 1971 until 1974, the submarine that was used in a motion picture called Around the World Under the Sea. B-grade movie, great entertainment, made a lot of money, fake, you know, just the interior. It didn't really dive and shoot. It was just for interiors. Anyway, we own that submarine. And Gene Roddenberry came out to look at it because he wanted to feature it in a retro-type sea hunt series, which I thought was a brilliant idea. And he came out, anyway, sub wasn't quite big enough and it would cost too much money for us to retrofit it for his needs. So we spent a wonderful week together. We took him flying through the Bermuda Triangle. I used to be involved with Dr. J. Manson Valentine and Charles Berlitz, the co-authors of the Bermuda Triangle. Do you remember that book?
Yes, sir.
World famous. I think it's been translated into 103 different languages. Anyway, just part of the expertise that my physical bearing as a researcher, scientist, activist, and writer, because it's a story that I want to begin